Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah. Today I'm going to talk about Islamic Aqidah and the limits of human knowledge and capability. This is very important because if we look at the secular ideology and way of thinking, it seems that they are trying to play the role of God. And this is where I think Muslims must be very careful when we learn from secular or theistic motivators. The emphasis is on the human ego. I can do this, I can do that, I can achieve this, everything is I. And that egoistic based motivation towards life will bring finally self-destruction. So what is important is for us to review back this concept that I'm trying to tell you, that if we look at whatever there is in this universe, all right, whatever beyond the universe, outside the universe, we do not know, all right, but we know that we are a created being, and this universe is a created thing, all right. So the realm of our Creator, or God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His essential nature, His Zat, is not known to us. That's why even, for example, the followers of Nabi Musa are asked to see Allah. Even when Allah just manifested His power on a mountain, they were all struck and became dead, and Allah raised them again. As an example of how absolute, for example, if the power of Allah is to be manifested, nothing can exist in the universe, because His command is so immense and is beyond our imagination. So from the perspective of Islamic Aqidah, we should know that we cannot try to fathom the depth of the Zat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Allah opens the gateway for us to understand through His attributive aspects. Okay, so His attribute of absolute power. Then He gives human being the will and the relative power for us to exist in this planet Earth. So what is important is for us to understand that from the realm of Allah, everything is possible. Whatever He wills will be manifested. So for example, if we look at this universe, from the realm of impossibility, He created this universe. So this existence of this universe is dependent on the command and the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then He created this species of a creature called human beings to be His Khalifa on this earth, to realize the grandeur of His creation. Because every one of us has a function. Every creature that Allah has created has a purpose and a meaning. So our purpose within the scheme and the scope of existence is basically we are the realizer of the grandeur of God. Because other creatures, apart from the angels, apart from the other angels, they cannot fathom the grandeur and glory of Allah. For example, the angels, when you read the Quran, manifest the grandeur of Allah by constantly praising and zikr of Allah. That is what Allah has ordained upon the angels, to realize the grandeur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but with a limited knowledge. Human being has been given a knowledge that is infinitely bigger, but still limited. So if we say that we have this knowledge, our knowledge is not absolute. Allah is the possessor of the absolute knowledge. Human beings is given some small measure of the knowledge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to understand the realm of this impossibility, to imagine and to know what is it all about. For example, we can do research on cosmology. We look at this universe and we say from our point on Earth, right through the galaxy to the Milky Way to the age of the universe is 13.7 billion years away, or whatever the figure is. All right, we existed 30.7 billion years ago. How big is the age of the universe? It's almost infinite. We do not know. So even the concept of the existence of this infinitely big universe is not known to us. How small is this Earth? It is smaller than an atom. That means we look from microcosm, this Earth, as compared to the galaxies, the billions of galaxies, super clusters and so on throughout this universe. If we look backward, this Earth is just smaller than a pinhead, smaller than a piece of atom, it is just nothing. So if we say that we are infused with that knowledge is comparatively nothing, because the knowledge of Allah is infinite. The knowledge of human self is finite within the realm of this dunya, for example. We don't even have the ability to access, to go to another galaxy. That's impossible, all right, under current technology. Whether in the future technology, wallahu alam, even if we have that technology, even if we can access to the edge of the universe, what is this universe? It is just a creation of Allah based on its existence, based on the command of Allah, the will that Allah will upon, and it come into being. And Allah can create many, many universes, and in the Quran, Allah has alluded to many, many universes, which maybe we do not know, because it is beyond the realm of our knowledge. So comparatively, our knowledge vis-a-vis the knowledge of Allah is just one atom size. So don't ever be arrogant. For example, if you go to some of these motivators, oh, I can do this, I can achieve this, that is sheer nonsense. Because that I finally will die. That I, who seems to be so great in this world, will finally die. Just like even the richest people on earth will have to die. And they will be accounted for, because death doesn't mean death in Islam. Death is a separation of the physical body from your spiritual, emotional and mental self that Allah has ordained as your ruh, component of your ruh, which I have explained in the previous video. So what is important is for us to understand that the limits of our knowledge is infinitely small, and there's nothing to be arrogant about. We submit to Allah and realize the grandeur of Allah's knowledge, and our knowledge is just His gift to us. His gift of limited will. That means we have this free will that Allah has given us. His gift of the intellect. His gift of being able to realize the grandeur of this universe. His gift of able to do the mathematical calculation of the existence of black holes, or existence of supernovas, or whatever that we do in cosmology today. His gift of being able to understand quantum physics, quantum entanglement, and many, many other phenomena. That is this current thing that we do today. All right? But even that knowledge, compared to the real knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is infinitely small, and we should always be grateful to Allah, who created this special being called Bani Adam, who is given to become the representative of Allah on this earth, and given this special knowledge, which is very, very small, but sufficiently enough for us to lead a life of realization of the grandeur and the glory of this universe. And we feel so grateful every day of our life to realize it is Allah who gives us this blessing of existence. It is Allah that gives us the blessings of knowledge. It is Allah that gives us this whole message of positive living and positive dying and positive existence in the realm beyond space, beyond time, beyond physical matter. That is the command of Allah. That is the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is the truth. So whatever philosophical framework that brings about the denial of Allah, the denial of the superpower, we call God Allah, the denial of existence beyond death, or just the philosophy based on ego, I, should be avoided by Muslims. We must understand our purpose in meaning in life, to be the true and sincere servant as His Khalifa on this earth, striving to be good, helping others to be good, and making the world good. So once we have that capability, we have some knowledge of the realm of impossibility. As I mentioned earlier on, certain knowledge that Allah has given us, which are, for example, the knowledge of the intellect that we use to calculate with mathematics, cosmology, geophysics, we talk about DNA, RNA, we talk about all the genetic codes and all that. All these are from the impossibilities. Something small to something that is big. This whole universe, we have some knowledge which is endowed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where Allah opened the gate of that knowledge. So we Muslims must participate in understanding this knowledge. And some of it become the realm of possibility for us to harness as we live on this dunya. That means we should harness technology. We should harness, for example, the ability to produce power. For example, now we have this solar energy. We should have the ability to do power from nuclear fusion. Maybe Allah can give us that capability. They experiment to do a reactor based on nuclear fusion where there is no side effect in terms of radioactive element, radioactive element, and so on. So all these things are from the realm of impossibility come to the realm of possibility based on the knowledge endowed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we appreciate that gift of knowledge. So we have always, as Muslim, we know the gift of limited will, because we have within the Islamic framework of qada and qadar, we know that we live within the range of what Allah determines in the absolute sense. But in the relative sense, we have the freedom to choose to become good or bad, to acknowledge Allah or to be an atheist, to use that knowledge for the enablement of this world and society, or for the destruction. For example, nuclear power can be used for nuclear energy or can be used for nuclear bomb. And right now we have so many nuclear bombs by so many countries, whether it's Russia, whether it's China, whether it's America, whether it's France, Britain, and Israel, and many other countries. They have enough nuclear warheads to bomb this earth out of existence, not only one time, but 7 times over. This is sheer madness. That means it is the sheer madness of an arrogant human being denying God, thinking that they can control the world by using nuclear power, whatever it is. But that power compared to the absolute power of Allah is nothing. For example, if we put all the nuclear bombs that we have existed in this world today, from all the countries, compared to just the power of Allah creating one supernova, for example, one supernova will have the energy power of a trillion times bigger than all the nuclear bombs that we have on this earth. You can imagine. It's unimaginable. It is a real thing. I mean, it is a created thing. A supernova is a created thing. But the energy within that supernova is trillion times again all the nuclear powers that we can ever imagine. So we are infinitely nothing. We are creature of nothingness. And because of that, we must realize how we are to have this adab of Aqidah, of our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by first surrendering ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, acknowledging His grandeur and glory, and submitting ourselves to the reality of our existence in this world as His Khalifa on this earth, and then developing our love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from submission to realization to love, and that will bring us to the pinnacle of our existence as a human being, and inshallah the pinnacle of our capability as a human being. So with knowledge come capabilities, and capability, from this capability, whatever capability that we can do, then Muslims must be able to achieve it and strive to become fruitful, wonderful, creative, productive human beings that contribute towards the goodness of this world, and that will be the basis of achievement of being a Muslim. So when we understand that, inshallah, we understand first, we are a creature of nothingness, and our relative physical existence is so infinitely small, it is not even worth mentioning. That we realize that our purpose is to realize the grandeur of Allah's creation. That's why He gave us this knowledge and this will, which has been discussed very deeply by many great Muslim scholars that I have mentioned earlier on, especially Al-Imam Ghazali and many others, that this will, if we manifest that positively, will become something that is good, and we become grateful servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember, always striving to be good, to help others to be good, and making this world good, inshallah.